there are over 30 different types of visas that will allow you to enter and work here. For some types of visas, you need to have an employer who will be willing to issue a certificate of sponsorship. For some types of applications, you will need to have a Home Office recognized endorsement body. And for some types of applications, you don't need to have an employer or even a prospective employer in order to be able to enter and work here. For some types of UK work visa categories, you need to work in a specific occupation, and for other visa categories, you can work anywhere you want. To help you understand the difference between these 30 types of visas, I have created a series of 5 videos where I will be explaining the purpose and the main eligibility requirements for each visa route. And to be as clear as possible, I have subdivided all UK work visas into 5 categories. Category number 1 is where you don't need to have a job offer in order to be able to enter the UK and work here. The second one is where you need to have an overseas employer in order to be eligible to enter the UK and work here. The third one is for someone who wants to work in the UK on a temporary basis. The fourth one is for someone who wants to enter the UK in order to start business. And category number 5 is for all other routes which will allow you to work in the UK. This is video 1 where I will concentrate on UK work visas without a job offer. Okay, let us have a look at the UK work visa routes where the applicants are allowed to enter the UK without having a job offer from the UK-based or the overseas-based employer. We have a number of routes which would allow you to do this. So the first one is for a very limited category. This is called Hong Kong British National Overseas. So this is for someone who holds a British National Overseas status, and they usually reside in either Hong Kong or UK or Crown dependencies. And also they will be allowed to apply together with their dependent partner and a dependent child. And rather uniquely, other family members with a high degree of dependency may also apply under these routes. And if your application was successful and you have resided in the UK for 5 years with this particular leave to enter or remain, you will be allowed to apply for indefinite leave to remain. In other words, you will be allowed to settle after 5 years. And there is no limitation as to what type of work you will be allowed to do. So you can work, you can be self-employed. There is only one exception: you will not be allowed to work as a professional sports person. The next route is very similar, and again it's for a very limited category of people. This is for the household members of the British National Overseas, specifically for adult children, those who are over the age of 18 and those who were born on or after 1st of July 1997. So the child can apply, an adult child can apply, their dependent partner and their dependent children, and in very exceptional circumstances also other family members with a high degree of dependency can apply. And again, this route leads to settlement after this person had their entry clearance or leave to remain in this route for 5 years. The graduate route, in my opinion, very, very helpful route for international students. This is a relatively new route which was introduced on 1st of July 2021. Or should I say, it's not a new route per se. This is a Phoenix route because the UK government has made a number of attempts to introduce this route in the past. So this UK graduate route allows international students with the UK bachelor degree or above to remain in the UK after they have successfully completed their studies at the university. They are called the higher educational providers. These providers will need to have a track record compliance, and they would like to look for a work. Those who have a bachelor degree or master's degree, they will be allowed to remain in the UK for 2 years. PhD students will be allowed to remain in the UK after their studies for 3 years. Unfortunately, this route doesn't lead to settlement. So guys, if you have an opportunity of applying under the skilled worker route, this will be a much better option for you because you will start the 5-year clock ticking straight away. So the 2 years under the graduate route will not be counted towards your ILR time. And therefore, if this is your intention to eventually settle in the UK, I strongly suggest that you find a skilled worker employer who will be willing to assist you with an application under the skilled worker route, because the skilled worker route allows you to settle in the UK after 5 years. And the Youth Mobility Scheme, this is an incredibly popular route. This was called the Working Holiday Maker before, and in my opinion, the old name perfectly defines what this route is about. So this route is to provide a cultural exchange program. This is for someone who is over the age of 18 but under the age of 30, and that is provided you are not from New Zealand, because if you are from New Zealand, your age limit is going to be 35 years, and your country of origin will need to be on the participating countries list. And if your application is successful, your entry clearance will be granted for 2 years. You will not be allowed to settle in the UK under this route. However, you will be allowed to work, so there will be almost no limitations on where you can work unless you intend to work as a professional sports person. This is not allowed under this route. And if you would like to work as a self-employed person, there will be 3 limitations imposed on this. So first of all, you will not be allowed to buy any business premises. Secondly, the total value of the equipment used in the business should not exceed 5,000, and you cannot employ other people if you are a self-employed person under the Youth Mobility Scheme. The next route is called Global Talent Route. This is for someone who can demonstrate an exceptional talent or exceptional promise in the fields of science, engineering, humanities, medicine, digital technology, or arts and cultures. And your exceptional talent or exceptional promise will need to be recognized by one of these organizations, by the Royal Society, British Academy, Royal Academy of Engineering, or UK Research and Innovation, or by Arts Council England. Or you can also succeed when applying under the Global Talent Route if you can show that you have won a prestigious prize, which is on the list of the prestigious prizes which you can find if you go to my website ukvisasuccess.com. I've provided you there with the link of all these prestigious prizes. So that was our Global Talent Route. The next one is called the UK Ancestry Routes. This route is a very, very old route. Rather unprecedentedly, it allows applicants, those who are under the age of 18, to enter the UK, so they can be 17 years or older. However, if you guys under the age of 18, you'll need to get a parental consent in order to apply under this route. So all you have to do is to prove that one of your grandparents was born in the UK or Ireland, and you don't need to have any job offers in order to enter the UK. All you have to do is to prove that you intend to look for employment. And rather unprecedentedly, you don't need to prove that you are in the position to support yourself financially if you have a credible promise from a third party. To the best of my knowledge, the only route which allows the applicants to do this is the Appendix FM exceptional route, where the applicants rely on exceptional paragraph EX1. So in these circumstances, third-party promises are also allowed. And this is a route to settlement, so all successful applicants will be allowed to remain in the UK after 5 years. If you are already in the UK in another immigration category, let's say you came here as a student and then you realize that you can apply under the UK Ancestry Route. Unfortunately, you cannot switch from a student visa category to UK Ancestry visa category. You need to leave the country and make your entry clearance application. However, if you're already in the UK under the UK Ancestry Route, and let's say your first leave was granted only for 3 years, then in these circumstances, you will be allowed to extend. So extensions are allowed, but not switchings. Okay, so the next one is a relatively new route, which is called the High Potential Individual Route. So this was introduced on 30th of May 2022. And this is limited to recent graduates of top global universities. And if you'd like to know what these are, you're very welcome to explore my website, where I have provided you with the links. This is for someone who would like to work or who would like to look for work while in the UK. All you have to do in order to succeed in this application is to prove that you are a graduate from one of the top global universities and your degree is UK bachelor degree or above. This can be proven with the help of ACTIS. Before, they were known as the NARIC UK, a very, very helpful organization which will issue a statement of compatibility saying whether or not your bachelor degree is the UK bachelor degree equivalent. If you are successful, you will be allowed to work, you will be allowed to volunteer, and you will also be allowed to work as a self-employed person. The only restriction is you cannot work as a professional sports person, and this route doesn't allow you to settle in the UK. However, what you can do when you're already in the UK, you can switch to another immigration category, for example, to switch to a skilled worker immigration category, which will allow to settle. And the next two schemes are for Ukrainian citizens. They're called Ukraine Family Scheme and Homes for Ukraine Sponsorship Scheme. So Ukraine Family Scheme is for Ukrainian citizens and their close family members, those who were residing in the UK at the time when the war started, and those who are citizens of this country or their family members, their spouses or children. And they have close family members residing in the UK and they have a settled status. So they're either British citizens, the sponsor family members, they're either British citizens or with indefinite leave to remain in the UK, or they have leave to remain following a successful protection claim. So it's either refugee status or humanitarian protection, or where they have a pre-settled status under the EU settlement scheme. This scheme doesn't lead to settlement, and this is only granted for a maximum period of 3 years. The Homes for Ukraine sponsorship scheme is very, very similar to the previous one, but here the applicants don't need to prove that they have any relatives living here in the UK. All they have to do is to find a sponsor who is willing to provide them with an accommodation for at least 6 months, and they also have to prove that they were residing in Ukraine at the time when the war started. Again, this route doesn't lead to settlement, and the applicants will be expected to leave or to switch to another immigration category after 3 years. And the final route where the applicants don't need to show job offers in order to be able to work in the UK is called Afghan Relocation and Assistance Policy. As you probably have guessed, is for a very limited number of people. This is for Afghan citizens and their dependent family members. This route allows them to relocate to the UK and to also settle here in the UK. To succeed, you'll need to prove that the Ministry of Defence has decided that you meet the requirements for relocation to the UK as an eligible Afghan citizen under the Appendix Afghan Relocation and Assistance Policy. So if you'd like to read this policy, I have provided you with the links in one of the articles at ukvisasuccess.com. The successful applicants, if they're applying outside the UK, will be granted indefinite permission to enter settlement, so they will be granted indefinite leave to enter straight away. And the only other route which allows applicants to do so, to get this very generous grant, is called the adult dependent relative route. So the applicants under that route will also be granted indefinite leave to enter if the application is successful. If you're already in the UK, you will be granted indefinite leave to remain straight away. And these were 10 UK immigration categories which would allow the applicants to apply even though they don't have a job offer from a UK-based employer or from an overseas employer.